Hey, princess. Oh, you the star. You the star. Hi, welcome back to my channel and a happy new year to all of you. I hope you're all taking it easy coming into the new year now. We don't want to be rushing into anything, but I'm here today to talk to you about things that I do in January in my garden. So my first job to do in January involves compost. In my current garden, I have 2 compost bays, and the one that I'm going to be using is the one on the left, which is the compost from 2 years ago. So the one on the right was the compost bin I was using last year, and I was filling that, giving a full year for the other one to fully decompose. Now, this is purely because I'm still quite new to creating my own compost and I wanted to get the variations in green and brown matter correct. I'm still learning, but this week I have been digging into that pile of compost, and I'm delighted to say that we've been pulling out some really, really lovely compost that I'm going to use as a mulch on my beds in my polytunnel to protect my dahlia bulbs, and onto some of the pots as well. Now you could always save this and use it for your seed starters. You could save it and just use it in other pots later down in the year. But I personally am starting to use mine as a mulch over my beds at the minute, seeing as there is quite a bit of it. So compost needs a good mix of brown and green matter to decompose to create a good compost. Now I use, for my main ingredient, I suppose, in my compost is a mix of both of those, which is the manure and bedding from my chicken coop. So when I clean my chickens out, I remove everything from inside the chicken coop, which will be a base layer of newspaper topped with wood shavings, and then in the nest boxes there's straw, and then obviously the chicken manure that has gathered there over the period of time that I've left it. So that is a really good base of my compost there. Another good layer I put in, obviously throughout the spring and the summer and the autumn, is green matter from my garden scraps. So that could be dead plants, it could be lawnmower clippings or cuttings, it could be dead leaves. The brown matter comes in with the woody materials such as branches that might have snapped, although the larger branches I do try and shred down so that it decomposes quicker. I've only started doing that recently, and it makes such a difference to kind of shred those down into smaller particles. So another thing I put into my compost would be my kitchen scraps. So vegetable peelings, eggshells, all sorts of kitchen scraps that I've used while cooking or from my cooking. They go into the compost as well. I do have a little vermicompost bin as well that I sometimes put them in, and obviously if I don't feed my hens the kitchen scraps as well. The kitchen scraps kind of tend to go in a few places, so it depends on how much I have of those things. Also, to add to the brown matter, I have cardboard and sometimes wood ash, although you'll see from a previous video I often use my wood ash as a dust bath for my hens. So that's how I put my compost all together. So the benefits of using my own compost as a mulch when it's been broken down is that it does help retain moisture and prevent weeds from spreading on those beds. It's nutrient rich and adds organic matter to the soil. It protects the roots from the frost, and it's also free. Like, the best thing about it is that it is free. So I'm going to be using it as much as I can, and I'm hoping to quicken the process throughout the year, but we'll check in and see how I get on later in the year. Right, moving on to the second job that I do in January. So we have hens in our garden, and during the winter it's super important for us to make sure that their drinkers don't get frozen over, that their food is topped up regularly. We often treat them with something like corn, which helps bring their body temperature up when they break it down. So as it's a little treat, it helps them themselves. And just keeping their coop draft free, put a bit of extra bedding in to keep it warm for them. And yeah, just make sure that they stay happy and healthy. We also put out bird seed for the garden birds because we know that their diet is a little bit limited at this time of year. So we do look forward to seeing them a bit more in the garden by us putting bird feeders or bird seed out. And it's just great to see which ones are coming to visit you. And my third job in January is to check what seeds I have and update my planner for the year. So I do have a planner that I have on a wall that is a rough guide of what I want to plant and when throughout the year. Now it's not strict, it's purely a guideline, but that just gives me a rough idea of when I should be planting things and just gives me a bit of a head start. And if I have brought something new into the garden or I want to learn how to grow something new into the garden, I can just add it to that. Like I said, it's a rough guide. Sometimes I don't quite stick to it as much as I should, but it just gives me that head start on what I should be looking at planting at that particular time of year. And going through my seeds, again, is a really important thing to do at the beginning of the season. I like to make a list of what I would like to grow and also the things that I have already. So I check off what I already have. Now, sometimes I have things I have that I haven't planned on planting. So it's good to have a list of what you have already. So then you can put that into your plan to make sure that you can get that in the garden. And this is a great time of year as well to actually buy seeds because you can get January sales, sort of pre-spring sales, and you can also get things that are seasonal coming up to the spring. So there'd be suppliers and websites that would have the stock that you're after coming into the season that you're coming into, and they would be ready for you to order from them. So yeah, great time of year to get ahead of those sorts of things. So as a summary, first job would be to tidy up the compost and put it on the beds as a mulch. Okay, job 2 would be looking after the birds. If you have your own like I do, making sure that they are taken care of over the winter. Or if you just like to see the garden birds, putting a bit extra feed out for them. And the third job would be to restock your seeds, double check what you have and make a plan for the year of what you are going to be planting. Now, my plan is very specific to me of what I like and what I like to plant, what I like to eat, the flowers I like, and that sort of thing. So your plan will be very specific to you and where you are from. That's the other thing. The plant plan I have is very specific to what grows well for me in my region, which is, needless to say, a little bit different to a lot of other people's regions. You will be so pleased that you got ahead doing these little tasks because they do need doing eventually down the line. So January being a quieter month for the growing season is definitely the perfect time to get these jobs done or these little tasks done. Now you don't need to rush into it. This is still winter. We're still very much in the kind of down level of the gardening. You might see that there are other people flying ahead with their planting, but there's no rush. You can ease yourself into it. So I hope that I've helped you today. I hope that I've given you some tips that you find useful. And thanks very much for coming by again, and hopefully see you next time. Thanks a million.